Hello. You've caught me in the middle of eating carbs very late at night, and that's only because I'm trying to choose the best selections from Ken Follett's Night Over Water, a book that, as you know, is about recognizing the threat of totalitarianism and feminist themes of women standing up for themselves. Both, incidentally, are very important themes in this election cycle. I am having trouble because a lot of these are very long, and I think I'd be violating some sort of contract, if not more, some sort of moral codes here, if I read the entirety of some of these. But Ken Follett had some great one-liners, I think, that really get at his ability to get in touch with women's bodies, and really get into the way that women think, in order for them to free themselves from totalitarianism. And, you know, lest you doubt Ken Follett, Christopher B. Johns, author of Big Ice, wrote in his Amazon.com review of Night Over Water that, quote, "To Follett's credit, he wrote in Night Over Water perhaps the steamiest sex scene I've ever read. I almost tried waking up the wife," and he puts in parentheses, "dangerous." So, ladies and gentlemen, Ken Follett is America's most dangerous feminist writer. And it's right here in this book, and this is why. This is just some great one-line things here that Ken Follett has written that really explain to you how awesome he is about this stuff. She had been sitting on the couch, wearing a denim work shirt that belonged to him and not much else, her long sun-tanned legs stretched out in front, her fine hair lying across her shoulders like a shawl. She was reading a magazine. Her breasts were normally quite small, but lately they had swollen. He felt an urge to touch them, and he thought, why not? So he slid his hand inside the shirt and touched her nipple. She looked at him and smiled lovingly, then went on with her reading. In addition, what would Harry have thought of her body if she had let him in? He might be revolted by big breasts, that they may make him think of motherhood or cow's udders or something. She had heard that men liked small, neat breasts, the same shape as the little glasses in which champagne was served at parties. You couldn't get one of mine into a champagne glass, she thought ruefully. And then, the effect... No, excuse me. Her hand was drawn forward irresistibly. He gave a low groan as he saw what she was about to do. She hesitated at the last instant. Her pale hand wavered next to the dark penis. The effect took her by surprise. He moaned, closed his eyes tight, and pressed his knees together, and then, as she pressed down a second time, he jerked convulsively, his face screwed up in a grimace, and white semen spurted from the end of his penis. Astonished and mesmerized, Margaret continued the action, and with each downstroke more came out. She herself was possessed by lust. Her breasts felt heavy. Her throat was dry, and she could feel moisture trickling down the inside of her thigh. At last, at the 5th or 6th stroke, it ended. His thighs relaxed, his face became smooth, and his head slumped sideways on the pillow. Margaret lay down beside him. He looked ashamed. I'm sorry, he whispered. Don't be sorry, she replied. It was amazing. I've never done that. I feel wonderful. He was surprised. Did you enjoy it? She was too abashed to say yes aloud, so she just nodded. He said, But I didn't. I mean, you didn't. She said nothing. There was something he could do for her, but she was afraid to ask. He rolled onto his side so that they faced one another in the narrow bunk. He said, In a few minutes, maybe. And those were excerpts from Ken Follett's dangerous feminist novel, Night Over Water. And I hope that you and I can stop eating carbs at night and put this book down, because, I mean, this is going to just engross someone. It's just going to grab you with dark penises next to pale hands and breasts that swell because they do that. Anyway, good night.